The sad truth is people don't change until they have to, and by then, it's oftentimes too late. And the same people who call you too needy and dismiss and invalidate you because, well, your feelings aren't their problem, are going to be the very same people who are blindsided when you leave. And now all of a sudden, they're willing to do the work, right? Now all of a sudden, they didn't know you were so unhappy before. All of a sudden, they're sorry. Sorry for what, exactly? Sorry for the countless times I didn't feel safe to express a feeling without being punished? Sorry for years of neglect? What exactly are you sorry for? Because I'm having trouble trusting those words since this is the first time I'm hearing them. You weren't sorry when I was begging you for the bare minimum. You weren't sorry when I was the only one bending over backwards to make this relationship work. And you weren't sorry when I had tears in my eyes. But now you can see in my eyes that something has changed, and you're sorry. Me too. I'm sorry, I didn't realize sooner how to stand up for myself and learn what I deserved in a relationship. All right, what do we want? A relationship. And what are we going to do to keep that relationship? Control and manipulate. No. Belittle and demean them. Also no. Love bomb them and then shame them so they don't feel like they have any value. That's never okay. Use their vulnerabilities against them. Oh my gosh. I just don't see the point in listening to them when I'm always right. Bad narcissist. You're not special. Take it back. Someone needs to tell you. See, nothing I do is good enough for you. Don't start that. You don't start. You always do this to me. You gaslight me. I'm not gaslighting you. Now you're invalidating my experience. See? Don't use therapy words to try to manipulate me. That's it. I'm setting a boundary. You're purposely doing things that trigger me. That's abuse. The things that trigger you are treating people with kindness and respect. I'm gonna lie and tell everyone how terrible you are because I have to be the victim here. Okay, she's not quite ready. Let's go ahead and get her back inside. What did I do wrong? Everything. All right, welcome to Narcissist Bingo. All right, first number, belittling words. Nothing better than being called stupid by someone who says they love you. 7, B7. Yeah, that's a big one. Next up, invalidates your feelings and needs. You're really gonna make a big deal about that? I was just kidding. 17, I17. Check. Blames their toxic behavior on you. B4. You met them, life was easier. Wow, 3 for 3. Next, needs to be the victim at all times. Not gonna take accountability for anything. Apologies, what are those? 33, N33. Yup. Interprets any feedback as an attack. I24. Yeah, I gotta mark that. Gaslighting, 52. I never said that. You're crazy if you think I said that. 52. Heard it. Guilt tripping, 47. You're really gonna treat me like that after all I've done for you? G47. Wow, it's like mom's sitting right here. Gonna use your vulnerabilities against you. G55. Oh man, get tired of marking over here. Overreactive, because they have the emotional intelligence of a child. O63. Hey, I did it, bingo. What do I win? Forgot to mention, there's only losers in this game. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but you can't set boundaries with a narcissist. Well, you can, but they're not going to respect them. That's exactly my point. How do you set boundaries with someone who has no interest in respecting them? Well, we don't need someone else's permission to enforce our own boundaries, right? No, you don't need their permission, but your boundary is just going to get walked on. Yeah, that's true. So what is your position? That we shouldn't be setting boundaries with narcissistic people? No, my argument is it doesn't matter what you say, they're just going to do whatever they want anyways. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we also need to remember that that type of behavior completely fractures the trust and connection in the relationship. Right, but they don't care about any of that. They're just going to end up blaming you. That's why sometimes you just have to go no contact. True, but that's a boundary. What? Going no contact is actually the perfect example of a boundary. They don't need to agree with it for you to establish and uphold it, right? Huh, I never thought about it that way. Because you're absolutely right. Some people will always take advantage of us, but it's up to us to understand that we don't owe anyone unlimited access of our time, energy, or bodies. That's true. And the right people for us actually want to know your limits and needs and boundaries. 5 ways to avoid communicating with vulnerability and respect, and instead, let's bump up the odds on this thing ending in a fight. What do you say? Number 5 is just bottle it up. Have you tried suppressing your feelings? Because honestly, they probably weren't going to listen to you anyways, so it's better just to shove those down where they belong until they come out in other destructive ways like passive aggressiveness or rage. And after you've suppressed, it's easier to accomplish number 4, which is assume their intent. Nothing divides you more right off the bat than aggressively reminding them, you did this purposely just to hurt me, because you don't care. Why give the benefit of the doubt when you you know they did this on purpose. Number 3, generalizations. I like to start out with a lot of you never or you always, such as you never do the dishes or you're always late. That way the argument can pivot to whether or not there's actually any truth to those statements instead of talk about what the real issue is, that we're completely emotionally disconnected from each other. Number 2, don't sleep on criticism and name calling. No reason to get all fancy when the classics still work great, and nothing starts a fight faster than attacking someone's character. Why say, I miss spending time with you and I've been feeling lonely lately, when you can say, you don't care about anyone but yourself, you narcissist? Here's my only problem with taking accountability. I've heard people say, especially when it comes to relationships, if you would admit that you're even just 10% of the problem, then just take responsibility for that 10% and focus on working on that. And while that does sound very mature, I feel like the only issue is, what are we doing about the other 90? Because while it's true that one person can change a relationship towards a healthier direction, it still takes 2 people to do the work to make a relationship work, right? Connection and closeness don't happen by accident. They require certain things like trust and mutual respect and sacrifice and consideration and accountability. And far too often, especially for someone who is used to sacrificing their needs to save a relationship, you're willing to work on your 10%. And let's be honest, the percentage is probably higher, but even if it's 50%, you're willing to read that book. You're willing to go to counseling or try anything new. Are they? Are they owning any of their part? Because you can work on yourself all day long. You're still not going to feel closer connected to someone who refuses to work on their contribution to the dynamic. 4 reasons she's not in the mood as much as she used to be. Number 1, she doesn't feel emotionally connected to you. Personally, I got complacent after marriage. And once stress comes along with jobs and kids, we can stop filling our partner's love tank like we used to, right? And I'm not saying you're the only one guilty of this. I'm just saying that might be why when you walk up and say, so you want to do it? It doesn't stimulate her responsive desire like it used to. My vote is ask her, what's one thing I can do this week to help you feel more connected? And then do it. Number 2, she feels pressured, and pressure kills desire. There was a season when I asked my wife, let's take a short break from the bedroom and just focus on our intimacy together again. And that really helped her to feel more safe to initiate hugs and kisses and playfulness without any pressure of it needing to go further, which ultimately made her feel more connected and want it to go further. Number 3, she's exhausted. And you might be exhausted as well, but if we love this person, we should care about whether or not they feel like the mutual chores or the domestic labor or the kids are all falling on their shoulders. I got a comment the other day from who I imagine is a wonderful gentleman who says, validating false emotions is merely appeasement. So I think in order to unpack this, we have to first name an emotion that's false. Name any emotion that's false. Here's the problem. You won't be able to do it. Now you might say, well, my partner says, I feel like you're selfish. Okay, but that's not an emotion. It's a criticism, but it's not an emotion. Or you might say, okay, but what if what they're feeling is based on a belief or a thought that's wrong? Okay, well, that's important. So in this case, you would agree that it's not the emotion or feeling that's wrong, it's the belief that created that feeling, right? Because if that's true, then we've disproved the notion of false emotions. There are no false emotions. Now, there can be false beliefs that cause feelings, but the feelings themselves weren't wrong. Those feelings make sense given what they believe was their personal experience, right? And I think that's important to distinguish, because in 0 of my videos do I ever discourage all of us from challenging our beliefs and thoughts, which so often create our feelings